stop asking, when will someone give me a chance? No one is coming to rescue you. No committee is secretly meeting to discuss your potential. The world is not waiting to hand you a reward because you feel ready. The world pays one thing, and one thing only: value. If you are not being sought out, it is not because life is unfair to you personally. It is because you have not yet become someone whose presence solves problems at a high enough level. That is not an insult. It is an invitation. You can decide from this moment to stop hunting opportunity like a beggar chasing coins and instead become the kind of man whose very existence attracts invitations, resources, and doors that others cannot even see. But there is one price. You must build your value first. Look around you. The men you envy, the ones who seem to always get the breaks, the ones whose names circulate when important work is discussed, are not favored by chance alone. They are favored by usefulness. Somewhere, quietly, long before the praise, they became more capable than those around them. They took the same hours everyone wastes and used them to sharpen judgment, cultivate discipline, and develop skill. They did this before the world cared, before anyone was watching. They understood a simple law. Opportunity does not create value. Value attracts opportunity. You have been living as though it were the other way around. You have been waiting for a better job, a higher position, a stroke of luck, imagining that once you obtain those, you will then rise to the level required. That is backward. You must rise first. Ask yourself a hard question. If I disappeared today, what would be missing that cannot easily be replaced? Do not answer with sentiment. Answer in terms of contribution. Can you do something at such a level of excellence that those who depend on it would feel a real loss? Or could another man, with a little training, step into your place without any great disturbance? If the second is true, then your problem is clear. You are asking for a life your current value cannot sustain. The solution is not to complain. The solution is to build. Value is not a mystery. It is the sum of three things: what you know, what you can do, and how you carry yourself while doing it. The first two can be learned. The third can be trained. None of them are fixed at birth. If you know little, you can study. If your hands are clumsy, you can practice. If your attitude is weak, you can discipline it. But you must stop treating these as ideas and start treating them as urgent work. Every hour you spend resenting those who have what you want is an hour you are not using to close the gap between your current self and the man you could be. Begin by choosing the kind of value you intend to build. You cannot be valuable everywhere at once. You must pick an arena where you will become difficult to replace. This may be your present trade, a craft you wish to master, a business you intend to build, or a particular capacity such as leadership, problem solving, or creative thinking that you will attach to whatever work you do. Do not say, "I simply want to be successful." That is an empty phrase. Say instead, "I will make myself indispensable in this specific way." A mind without a definite direction cannot build rare value. It wanders from interest to interest, touching everything, mastering nothing. The world does not pay for touches. It pays for mastery. Once you have chosen, you must accept that this is not a weekend project. You are not adding a hobby. You are constructing a different man. The books you read, the conversations you entertain, the habits you permit, the disciplines you adopt, all must now be measured against a simple question. Does this increase or decrease my value in the direction I have chosen? If it decreases, it is a luxury you can no longer afford. You have lived most of your life as though time were abundant and opportunity scarce. The truth is the opposite. Opportunity is abundant, but time is short. The man who spends his time carelessly will spend his life envying the man who spent his time building. Do not make the mistake of chasing titles instead of value. A title without substance is a fragile thing. It can be taken from you with a change in management, a downturn in the market, a single mistake. But value, real, hard-won ability, cannot be confiscated. You carry it with you wherever you go. You can lose your position and rebuild from it. You can be stripped of your status and still command opportunity because you command yourself. If you have been striving only for recognition, you are aiming too shallow. Strive for an excellence that would make you an asset even if no one knew your name. Recognition will follow such excellence as surely as a shadow follows the body. Understand that building value is not glamorous in the beginning. You will not feel heroic studying when others rest, practicing when others are talking, perfecting small tasks that no one seems to notice. You will feel, at times, like a man laying bricks in the dark. This is where most quit. They cannot endure being unseen. Their pride demands an audience. They want applause while they are still clumsy. You must decide that obscurity, for a season, is your ally, not your enemy. It gives you room to make mistakes without the whole world watching. It allows you to forge strength in private so that you do not embarrass yourself in public. Honor your season of quiet work. It is the furnace in which your value is fired. When you perform any task, ask yourself, how would I do this if I were already the person I intend to become? Then do it that way. If that means arriving earlier, you arrive earlier. If it means double-checking your work, you double-check. If it means learning an extra skill to do it better, you learn. Do not say, they do not pay me enough for that. Say, I am not paid for what I do. I am paid for what I am becoming. You are not working for your present wage alone. You are working for the person your present effort will allow you to be 3, 5, 10 years from now. That person will negotiate from a level of value that your current self cannot yet imagine. You may protest, but what if no one notices? What if I build and still no opportunity comes? That is fear talking, not law. It is impossible to increase your genuine value for a sustained period without some form of opportunity eventually appearing. It may not come from the place you expect. It may not wear the label you predicted. But the world has a constant hunger for men who can solve problems, carry weight, and produce results without being watched every minute. When you become such a man, you will be recognized by those who need you, even if they have never heard your name before. They will say, who can do this? And someone will answer, I know a man, because your value will have spoken through your work long before you arrive. Shift your attention from chasing openings to preparing for them. Most people imagine they are unlucky because they are rarely offered big chances. In truth, if most of them were offered such chances today, they would not be able to sustain them. They would accept positions they cannot handle, start ventures they cannot manage, take on responsibilities for which they have no inner structure. The result would be collapse. Life is wiser than that. It withholds certain chances until you have built the internal value to use them without destroying yourself and others. Instead of asking, when will my big break come? Ask, when it comes, will I be the man who can hold it? Build to make the answer yes, and you will find that the break has a way of showing up. Look at your present situation as a training ground, not a trap. You may despise your current work, seeing it only as a cage. That mindset keeps you blind. Even in poor conditions, there are skills to be extracted, patterns to be observed, lessons to be mastered. Are you learning how to handle detail? Are you observing how decisions are made, how systems succeed or fail, how men respond under pressure? Are you practicing diligence, reliability, and initiative? These are forms of value no one can stop you from acquiring. If you wait until everything is perfect before you begin building, you will die waiting. Start where you are. Use what you have. Turn your current post into a school. As you do this, your whole manner changes. You stop moving like a man who is merely doing his job and begin moving like a man in training for higher service. You will not need to announce this. It will show. It will show in the way you handle difficulty, without panic, without excuses. It will show in the way you receive correction, not as an insult, but as information. It will show in the way you speak, fewer complaints, more suggestions, more questions aimed at understanding how to do things better. Such a man is rare. Rarity is the beginning of value. None of this guarantees that opportunity will arrive on your preferred schedule. The law is not your servant. You are its student. Your surrender is tested in the delay. Will you still build when nothing seems to change? Will you continue to increase your usefulness when others are promoted ahead of you? Will you stay committed to excellence when those around you mock you for doing too much? Your answer to those questions determines whether your value is a posture or a principle. If it is a posture, it will collapse under disappointment. If it is a principle, disappointment will only strengthen it. You may be wondering, how will I know when my value has reached the point where opportunity will seek me out? You will not always know in advance. The moment often arrives disguised as a simple request. Can you handle this? Would you be willing to take this on? We have a problem. Do you think you can solve it? To the unprepared, these are burdens. To the man who has been building himself, they are signals. The door is beginning to open. In that moment, you will reach back to the quiet hours no one saw and draw from them. Your answer will not be born of arrogance, but of preparation. Yes, I can handle that. I've been getting ready for it long before you asked. From here, the work deepens. You must not only continue building value, but you must learn how to direct that value with precision, how to negotiate from it, and how to protect it from exploitation and from your own pride. The law does not end with preparation. It extends into how you steward the opportunities your value draws to you. That is where many squander what they have built. You must understand how to turn inner value into outer advancement without losing the very qualities that brought opportunity to your door. You have been told all your life to wait for the right time, to wait for your chance, to wait until someone notices you. That advice has kept you sitting in the hallway while other men walked into rooms you could have filled. The truth is this. Once you have begun building real value inside yourself, you must stop thinking like an applicant and begin thinking like an asset. An applicant begs to be chosen. An asset understands that the real decision he must make is how and where to invest his strength. When your value is low, you have little choice. Any door seems good. But as your value rises, you must become deliberate. Not every opportunity deserves you. You are not shaping yourself merely to be used. You are shaping yourself to be properly used. The first mistake many men make when opportunity finally knocks is that they accept too cheaply. They have spent years strengthening their mind, honing their skill, refining their habits, and then, in the excitement of being given a chance, they throw themselves into the first arrangement offered without examination. They forget that negotiation is not selfishness, it is self-respect. When an offer appears, do not ask only, what are they willing to give me? Ask also, what am I truly bringing that others cannot easily supply? How much revenue, how much stability, how much peace of mind does my presence create? How much trouble does it remove? Your value is measured not by how badly you want the position, but by how much better the situation becomes because you are in it. This does not mean you become arrogant. Arrogance is a sign of insecurity, not strength. A truly valuable man is often more humble than those who have accomplished nothing, because he knows how much effort it costs to become what he is. Yet he is not timid. He speaks plainly about what he can do. He does not understate out of false modesty, nor overstate out of desperation. He simply points to evidence, work done, problems solved, results achieved. When you can calmly present proof of your usefulness, you do not have to plead. Those who understand value will see it. Those who refuse to see it are not the ones you should be binding your future to. As opportunities increase, you must guard your standards even more fiercely. When you were unproven, you could not afford to be choosy. Now you must be. There will be offers that promise quick gain but require you to lower your ethics, abuse your health, or trade long-term growth for short-term advantage. They will sparkle in front of you, especially if you have endured lean times. This is where many fall. They think, I have worked so hard, I deserve this ease. I can always return to building later. But the law is clear. If you betray the very principles that produced your value, you begin to destroy that value at the root. A man who sells his integrity has sold his most important asset. No amount of money can make up for the loss of a mind that no longer trusts itself. Approach each new door with 3 questions. First, does this allow me to use and expand the value I have built? If the work offered does not challenge you to grow, if it merely consumes your strength and leaves you duller, be cautious. Second, does it align with the kind of man I intend to be? If the arrangement requires you to flatter where you should tell the truth, to hide what should be revealed, or to take advantage of those weaker than you, refuse it. Third, will this position increase or decrease my power to serve? Real power is not the ability to dominate. It is the capacity to help many and depend on few. An opportunity that chains you so tightly you cannot think, cannot improve, cannot breathe is not an opportunity. It is a cage painted gold. As your name begins to travel on the strength of your work, another danger appears. The temptation to spread yourself too thin. Men who once could not get work now find themselves overwhelmed with requests. They are flattered and they say yes to everything. They join every committee, accept every project, sit in every meeting. Their days become crowded with obligation. Their real talent becomes diluted across 100 small efforts, and the unique contribution that made them sought after begins to weaken. Eventually, they feel tired, resentful, and strangely less effective than when they were unknown. You must learn to protect the core of your value. Ask yourself, what do I do better than almost anyone around me? What part of my work creates the greatest return for others and for myself? Then guard the time and energy required for that work as you would guard a child in your care. It is not selfish to say, no, I cannot take that on. It would damage my ability to perform the work that truly matters. It is wisdom. The farmer who uses his strongest ox for every task, including those that could be done by weaker animals, will soon ruin his best asset. Do not let your strength be drained by matters that do not require your highest abilities. Delegate what you can. Decline what you must. Concentrate on where your value is greatest. At the same time, do not allow fear to make you overprotective. Some men become so attached to the routines that built their value that they refuse any new challenge that might expose their remaining weakness. They hide inside their competence. They insist on doing only what they already know they can do well. This leads to slow decay. You must continually take on tasks that are just beyond your current reach. Your value is like a muscle. It grows by being strained. When a new opportunity demands that you stretch your capacity, do not flinch. Say yes and then work like a man who must grow quickly to justify his own confidence. As your value compounds, your influence naturally increases. People begin to seek your counsel, not only your labor. Be careful here. Influence is intoxicating. It feels good to have others depend on your opinion. But if you are careless, you will start giving advice in areas where your value is untested. Your words will begin to outrun your experience. Resist this. Speak with authority only in the fields where you have paid the price to be accurate. Elsewhere, be a learner. Listen more than you speak. A man who pretends to know everything eventually proves he knows little. A man who speaks from the ground of his own hard-won competence and admits ignorance outside it will be trusted. That trust is another form of opportunity, and it must be guarded as fiercely as any financial gain. You must also decide how you will treat those who are now where you once were. When you were unproven, you likely felt the sting of being overlooked, dismissed, or used. Now that you carry more weight, you will be tempted to forget that pain. You may begin to treat the inexperienced the way the inexperienced were once treated around you, as tools rather than as men. Do not make that error. Remember that value is not only technical, it is moral. A truly valuable man raises the level of everyone close to him. He demands much, but he also instructs much. He expects effort, but he also offers guidance. When you see someone of lesser skill who shows the hunger you once felt, do not crush it. If they serve under you, train them. If they watch you from afar, live in a way that gives them a pattern. The law that multiplied your value will honor you for multiplying value in others. The higher you rise, the more pressure you will feel to protect a reputation. Ironically, this can lead to stagnation. When you were unknown, you could experiment, fail, and adjust quietly. Now, with more eyes on you, a part of you may become terrified of appearing foolish. It will whisper, "Do only what you are sure of. Do not risk. Do not innovate. You have too much to lose." If you obey that voice, your value will begin to fossilize. You must remember that the same courage that allowed you to build yourself in private is required to keep building yourself in public. You may have to attempt new methods, take on new responsibilities, or enter new markets where you are once again a beginner. Do not be ashamed of that. The man who is too proud to be a student again is already on the decline. One of the surest signs that you have truly built value is that you begin to attract problems equal to your strength. This may not feel like a compliment. You will find yourself facing situations that would have crushed you 5 years ago, and people will come to you precisely because they know you can carry what they cannot. You may be called in when a project is failing, when a conflict is tearing a team apart, when a decision must be made that others are too frightened to make. In these moments, remember that you asked for this, not in words, but in preparation. Every hour you spent making yourself useful has led to being needed in more serious ways. Do not complain that the weight is heavy. Heavy burdens are reserved for strong shoulders. When you stand in such moments, do not rely only on your own cleverness. You have trained your mind. Now trust it. Calm yourself. Review the facts. Ask simple, penetrating questions. What is the real problem here? What result is truly needed? What is the fairest, most effective course. Then decide. The ability to make clear decisions under pressure is one of the highest forms of value. The world is full of men who can perform tasks when everything is calm. There are far fewer who can think straight when the air is thick with fear. If you cultivate that ability, opportunity will not only seek you, it will cling to you. In building your value first, you must also guard against a subtle resentment that sometimes takes hold of the growing man. You may look back at years of hidden labor and feel that the world owed you recognition sooner. You may look around at those who seem to have risen faster, with less effort, and feel a bitterness that whispers, "Why did I have to work so hard?" If you allow that bitterness to grow, it will poison your future. It will turn every new assignment into an insult, every new request into an imposition. You will begin to hold back, to do only what is necessary, consciously punishing the world for not paying you earlier. In doing so, you punish yourself. The law does not respond to your sense of fairness. It responds to what you actually give. Release the resentment. Tell yourself, nothing was wasted. Every hour of hard work increased my capacity. I would not trade the strength I have gained for an easier past. The man who lives by this understanding walks differently. He does not beg for favor. He does not chase every rumor of a great opening. He is too busy sharpening his tools. When he hears of an opportunity, he does not ask, "Will they like me?" He asks, "Can I truly add value there? Will this allow me to use what I have built?" When the answer is yes, he moves decisively. When the answer is no, he declines without apology. He is not arrogant, he is aligned. He knows that his future does not hang on one offer because he is continually increasing his own capacity. He is like a well dug deep into the earth. No matter who owns a field, the water is there. As you continue to build, a time will come when you will feel a shift inside, a kind of quiet inevitability. You will sense that the gap between what you can do and what you are currently doing has grown too large. You will feel that your present surroundings cannot fully contain the value you have developed. This is not a signal to grow restless and tear down your life blindly. It is a signal to begin watching more keenly for doors that match your size. You will not need to knock on every one. Some will swing open when those who manage them notice that you no longer fit where you are. You will be recommended, invited, even pursued. When that happens, remember, it is not magic. It is correspondence. The size of the door has risen to meet the size of the man. But always, beneath the movement, the same law is operating. Build your value first. When you understand this, you stop being anxious about the timing of events. You stop torturing yourself with questions like, "Why has this not happened yet?" Instead, you turn your full attention to the work that is always within your reach. Improving what you are, you master a new skill. You refine your character. You widen your understanding. You tighten your habits. You become each year more solid, more useful, more precise. And as you do, you notice that where once you chased opportunity, opportunity now has difficulty keeping up with you. This is not theory. It is a description of a cause and effect relationship as old as labor itself. Those who give little, grasping constantly for more, live in perpetual dissatisfaction. Those who give much, intelligently and steadily, find that the world rearranges itself around them in surprising ways. You will see how this principle not only reforms your outer life, but also reshapes your inner conversation, how it transforms you from a man who wonders if he deserves better into a man who carries, in his very bearing, the quiet certainty that better is the natural companion of the value he has built. Up to now, you have looked at value mostly from the outside. Work performed, problem solved, doors opening. But the deepest change that comes from building your value is inside. The man you were when you begged for chances is not the same man you are becoming as you train yourself to be useful. You used to ask, why won't they give me more? Now you begin to ask, how can I become more? That single shift moves you from the posture of a dependent to the posture of a creator. One waits on the judgment of others. The other passes judgment on himself and goes to work. As your value grows, your entire inner conversation must change to match it, or you will sabotage yourself just when the world is starting to respond. The low-value mind is full of complaints and questions about fairness. It says, why did he get the position? Why is she paid more? Why am I always overlooked? These questions feel justified, but they are powerless. They focus attention where you have no control. The high-value mind asks a different set of questions. What do they know that I do not? What can they do that I cannot yet do at that level? Where is my current contribution genuinely weaker than theirs? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are useful. They turn envy into instruction. Every time you catch yourself resenting someone's advantage, turn the resentment into a lesson. Study the gap. Do not imitate their personality. Analyze their value. Then begin closing that gap in yourself. This attitude kills jealousy at the root. When you understand that value is built, not granted at random, you stop viewing another man's success as theft of your portion. You see it as evidence that the law is working. You think, if value produced this for him, value can produce something for me. I will return to my own building. That inner response frees you from the poison of comparison. Comparison turns many capable men into bitter hecklers. Instead of learning from those ahead of them, they stand on the sidelines and criticize. You are no longer on the sidelines. You are in training. You cannot afford the luxury of gossip. You must also rid yourself of the habit of speaking as if you are owed a better life. No one is owed anything beyond the chance to act. Talk of what you deserve is dangerous when your value is still growing. It makes you indignant when you should be industrious. Replace phrases like, I deserve more with, I am capable of more, and I will become more valuable until it is unquestionable. This is not submission, it is strategy. When you focus on deservedness, you argue with reality. When you focus on capacity, you increase your power to alter reality. The man who spends 10 years complaining that he is underpaid arrives at the same place as he began, only more tired and more bitter. The man who spends those 10 years using every underpayment as motivation to sharpen himself arrives ready to dictate terms. As your skills and character strengthen, your self-respect begins to rest on something solid. You no longer have to manufacture confidence by repeating empty phrases in the mirror. You have proof. You have evidence from your own life that you can learn, endure, improve, and deliver results. This kind of confidence is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not need flamboyant displays. It shows in the way you stand when others doubt, in the calm with which you accept a difficult assignment, in the lack of panic when circumstances shift. You know you have become more valuable because you have seen yourself handle situations that used to crush you. You do not scream that fact, you carry it. This inner solidity changes how you experience rejection and delay. When doors do not open as you expect, you do not collapse into the old story that nothing ever works out for you. Instead, you evaluate. You ask, is this delay due to a missing piece in my value, or is it simply timing? If it is value, you go to work on it. If it is timing, You do not waste emotion fighting it. You keep building because building is now your default state. You have learned that time works for the man who invests it and against the man who squanders it. Each month that passes while you are increasing your worth is a friend, not an enemy. Building value also alters your relationship with money. You stop viewing money as a mysterious blessing that shows up or disappears according to luck. You begin to see it as a certificate of value delivered. Before, you asked, how can I get more? Now you ask, how can I justly receive more in proportion to the increased value I provide? The difference is critical. The first question leads many into schemes, gambling, and shortcuts. The second question leads you to expand your usefulness, negotiate intelligently, and choose opportunities where your contribution truly warrants higher reward. When you sit down to discuss pay, you no longer lean on emotional pleas about your needs. You present the value you have built and the results it has produced. If the other party cannot or will not recognize it, you are free to seek someone who can. You are not begging, you are aligning. At the same time, you will notice that money loses some of its power to unsettle you. When your sense of worth is tied only to coins and notes, you are terrified whenever they fluctuate. You feel poor when money is low and inflated when money is high. But when your sense of worth is tied to the abilities and character you have built, money becomes one measure among others and not the most important one. You can experience a setback without losing your identity. You can see a temporary reduction in income as a problem to solve, not as proof that you are a failure. This steadiness is one of the reasons opportunity prefers men of true value. They do not disintegrate under financial stress. They can think when others are blinded by fear. The discipline of building value teaches you to see the world in terms of problems and solutions. The ordinary man sees only events, complains about them, reacts to them, is tossed by them. The valuable man sees structure. When something goes wrong, he does not just suffer, he studies. He asks, what failed here? Was it a system, a judgment, a habit, an assumption? He looks for the underlying cause. Then he asks, what can be put in place to prevent this and to create a better outcome next time? This habit of thought increases your value every time you exercise it, because it turns every misfortune into a lesson you can later apply for the benefit of others. You begin to notice that while others run from complications, you are increasingly drawn to them, not out of morbid curiosity, but because you understand that where the problems are, the value is. The more complex and painful an issue is for those around you, the greater the reward for the man who can ease it. This does not mean you deliberately seek chaos. It means you do not fear it. When confusion erupts, you think, here is a chance to practice what I have been building. Here is where I can separate myself from the crowd, not by boasting, but by being useful. That attitude is rare. It marks you. Value building also changes the quality of your goals. When you were thinking like a beggar, your goals were mostly about what you wanted to receive. Higher pay, more recognition, better surroundings. As you build yourself, your goals shift toward what you want to create. A certain standard of work, a system that runs reliably, a team that functions with high trust, a product or service that genuinely helps. You start asking, what can I leave behind here that will continue working even when I am gone? That is the beginning of leadership. A leader is valuable not only for what he personally does, but for the conditions he creates around him. Your words about the future become more disciplined as well. You stop making wild promises you cannot back with preparation. You recognize such boasting as a form of self-sabotage because it creates expectations that your current value cannot fulfill. Instead, you speak carefully. You say, "This is what I am working toward. This is what I am building myself to be equal to." When others ask, "Can you guarantee success?" you answer, "I can guarantee that I will continue to increase my value until success is the natural outcome." That answer may not satisfy the impatient, but it satisfies the law. Another important transformation occurs in your tolerance for mediocrity. First in yourself, then in your surroundings. When you were content to give little, you did not notice how often you did things poorly or just well enough to escape criticism. Now, each time you produce something below your rising standard, you feel it. It bothers you? That discomfort is not perfectionism, it is growth. You see clearly that sloppiness in small matters is a crack in the foundation. You begin to insist, quietly but firmly, that what passes through your hands will reflect who you are becoming, not who you were. This insistence can make you unpopular with those who are committed to laziness, but it makes you invaluable to those who care about results. As you carry this standard into your environment, you will influence it. Without lecturing, without pounding the table, you begin to set a tone. When others see you double-check your work, they feel their own conscience stir. When they observe that you do not join in complaining but always return the conversation to what can be done, they slowly adjust their own words. When they notice that you show up prepared, on time, with your mind engaged, some will begin to meet you there. This is another way your value multiplies. Not only through your direct actions, but through the higher pattern you establish for those around you. Even if they resist at first, they cannot escape the contrast you represent. You become a living argument for a different way of being. The law of value building does something else that is subtle but profound. It frees you from the constant hunger for approval. When you live by begging for chances, other people's opinions were your oxygen. A harsh word could crush you. A compliment could inflate you beyond measure. You were tossed between these extremes because you had no inner measure. Now you possess one. Your own honest knowledge of how much value you are carrying and how faithfully you are developing it. You still listen to feedback. You are not stubborn. But you consider the source. You weigh the words against what you know of yourself and your aim. If a fool mocks you, you do not stop. If a wise man corrects you, you adjust. In both cases, your center remains intact. From this place of inner stability, you can finally understand what it means for opportunity to come looking for you. It is not that the world suddenly becomes generous. It is that you have become too valuable to ignore. A reputation, once established on real performance, travels farther than you do. Men speak of you in rooms you have not entered yet. Problems are discussed, and someone says, "We need someone reliable, someone who can think and execute," and your name rises. You receive letters, visits, and requests that you did nothing to chase. It feels sudden. It is not. It is the delayed effect of years of invisible labor. When this begins to happen, your task is not to bask in it, but to handle it wisely. You must continue to filter these invitations through the questions you have learned to ask. Does this fit my values? Does it use and expand my strengths? Does it allow me to continue growing, or will it stall me? You must refuse to let flattery lead you into arrangements that will drain the very value that attracted them. You cannot serve every demand. You must choose those that align with the life you are deliberately building. As this process continues, you will notice an odd inversion. The more you build your value and the more sought after you become, the less you feel the old desperation. You are no longer anxious about being left behind because you understand that your future is anchored not in luck but in who you are. You may change scenery, change roles, even change fields, but you do not start from zero. The value you have built goes with you. That knowledge quiets fear. It allows you to make bolder, truer choices. You can walk away from disrespectful arrangements. You can decline offers that conflict with your principles. You can take calculated risks where others dare not, because you know that even if a single venture fails, the builder remains. This is the heart of the hidden law. When you commit yourself to becoming more deeply and consistently, you no longer chase opportunity as if it were rare and fragile. You become the rare and solid thing. Opportunity, which has always been abundant but picky, now has a reason to choose you. By now, you should feel something inside you that was not there when you first began this journey. You are no longer sitting with your hands open, hoping the world will drop a future into them. You have learned to build. You have felt the weight of discipline, the sting of honest self-examination, the long quiet of days when no one applauded and you kept going anyway. You have watched your value grow from a vague desire into a solid fact that you can point to in your actions, your skills, your judgments. That growth is not an accident and it is not fragile. It is the beginning of real security, the only kind of security a man can truly own. Now you must see how to live from this place, how to carry this built value through time without fear, how to let it give you peace in uncertainty, and how to shape a future that bends to you instead of frightening you. Most men move through life like leaves in a stream, thrown forward by currents they never tried to understand. They watch the economy, the news, the decisions of other men, and they adjust themselves in panic. When things go well, they breathe. When things go poorly, they crumble. Their stability is always borrowed from circumstances. You cannot afford to live that way any longer. You have spent too much effort building an inner foundation to still be ruled by outer weather. The whole purpose of increasing your value is this: to shift your sense of control from the outside in. You must begin to think. No matter what changes out there, I will not be empty-handed. I carry something the world needs. I can rebuild. I can redirect. I can stand. That thought is not pride, it is recognition. Once you truly grasp this, your relationship with time changes completely. Before, you feared time. Every year felt like a verdict. You thought, I am getting older and nothing is happening for me. You counted birthdays like losses, but time is only an enemy to the idle. To the man who is building his value, time is a multiplier. Each year adds layers of experience, judgment, and skill that others cannot mimic by accident. While the complacent man becomes more outdated with each passing season, you become more seasoned. Where he decays, you condense. You no longer ask, how old am I? You ask, how prepared am I? That is the only age that matters in the marketplace of opportunity. You must develop a deep respect for gradual improvement. The modern mind is diseased with urgency. It wants to see in a month the results that law saves for a decade. That impatience has destroyed more potential than failure. You have already learned that planted seeds do not sprout on command. They grow according to the order of nature, which cannot be rushed but can be served. Your value is the same. You pour in study, practice, and honest work. You water these with reflection and correction. You protect them from distractions that would uproot them. Then you allow time to do its part. The man who understands this stops living by the clock and starts living by the law of compounding effort. He knows that one good day does little, but 1,000 such days reshape a life beyond recognition. This understanding frees you from panic when results slow down. You will have years that seem to plateau, years where your role does not change much. Your title stays the same. Your surroundings look familiar. To the untrained eye, this looks like stagnation. To you, it must look like depth. A river does not deepen only when it bends. It deepens as it continues to flow in the same carved path. During these seasons, your task is not to tear your life apart just to feel movement. Your task is to refine, to strengthen your methods, to broaden your knowledge, to test and improve your character under quieter pressure. When the next leap comes, as it will, you will realize that the leap was made possible by things you learned during those apparently uneventful years. You must also decide what place worry will hold in your life from this point forward. Worry is the favorite pastime of men who have not built anything inside themselves. It is the constant rehearsal of dangers they have no plan to meet. The man who has built his value is not immune to concern. He is not a stone. But his concern takes a different form. Instead of saying, "What if everything falls apart?" he says, "If conditions change, what will I need to become? How can I prepare now so that I do not meet the future as a stranger?" Then he takes some small action in that direction. Preparation dissolves worry. Each step you take to become more capable replaces a little fear with a little strength. The more you build, the less room anxiety finds in you. You have seen that opportunity comes looking for the man of value. But you must understand that not every change of circumstance is opportunity. Some are temptations designed to pull you out of the path in which your value is greatest. You may be offered positions that flatter your vanity but do not truly use what you have built. You may be invited into ventures where your name is needed more than your ability, situations where you are prized as a symbol while your real strengths lie idle. If you accept such roles, you will feel hollow, no matter how impressive they appear from the outside. You did not build your value to become a decoration. You built it to be used. When you stand at such crossroads, ask yourself, will I be more valuable 3 years from now if I accept this or less? Choose where your growth continues, not where your ego is momentarily pleased. As your life becomes more aligned with the law of value, you will be able to recognize a deeper pattern. Everything you truly keep is what you have made part of yourself. Money can vanish, positions can change, buildings can burn, yet what you have become through discipline remains. You have probably already seen this in small ways. You have perhaps lost a job only to find another because your competence spoke clearly in every interview. You have perhaps suffered a failed attempt and nonetheless carried forward the knowledge gained into the next attempt. Multiply that idea across a lifetime. A man who continually builds himself is like an oak with deep roots. Storms may strip his branches, but they cannot pull him from the earth. It is this rootedness that gives him peace in a world where everything visible is unstable. This peace is not laziness. It does not make you passive. On the contrary, it releases energy that you used to burn in anxiety and turns it toward creation. Think of the hours you once spent complaining, indulging in envy, fantasizing about shortcuts. Those hours are now freed. You can invest them in reading that sharpens your mind, in practice that refines your craft, in thinking that designs better systems, in rest that genuinely restores you. Peace is not the absence of motion. It is motion without inner chaos. The man of value works hard, but he does not thrash. He moves with direction. As you continue on this path, you must guard against the subtle conceit that whispers, "I built myself, I need no one." That is as false as the earlier belief that you were helpless. You did make decisions. You did endure things others ran from. You did force yourself to grow, but you also drew from wells you did not dig. Teachers whose words you read, examples you observed, resources you did not create. Acknowledging this does not diminish your effort. It keeps you honest. It reminds you that the law of value is not about isolation, but about contribution. You grew valuable precisely by becoming a better contributor to the lives of others. If your value does not ultimately benefit anyone beyond your own comfort, it is incomplete. Start asking yourself, where does my value flow? When you solve problems in your work, who is made freer, stronger, or more prosperous because of it? When you use your judgment to make decisions, who is spared unnecessary pain? When your presence steadies a troubled situation, who walks away relieved? Do not think this is sentimental. This is the real measure of your worth. The world rewards those who increase its order and decrease its needless suffering. Money and recognition are two forms of that reward, but not the only ones. Respect, trust, and loyalty are also currencies, and they often outlast gold. There is another peace that comes from this way of living, the peace with your own past. The man who has wasted years but then learns to build his value is tempted to resent the time lost. He calculates what he could have been if only he had begun earlier. That thinking is a trap. It keeps part of your spirit chained to yesterday. The truth is, regret cannot change a single event behind you, but it can poison every event ahead if you let it. You must make a firm decision to treat your past not as a weight, but as inventory. Ask, what did those wasted years teach me about what does not work? How have my former errors sharpened my appreciation for discipline now? In what ways has my pain made me more understanding, more determined, more careful? When you see clearly that even your missteps have become material for your growth, you stop fighting time and start using it. Every lesson you paid for is now part of your value. From this vantage point, you can finally look at the future without trembling. You no longer need to fantasize that everything will be easy. You do not require the illusion that you will never face hardship again. You know better. You understand that change is constant, that setbacks are inevitable, that even the strongest plans must sometimes be adjusted. But instead of these truths discouraging you, they energize you. Why? Because they reveal how much room there still is to apply the law you have learned. As long as there are problems, there is demand for value. As long as there is demand for value, there is a role for a man who has built himself into a steady source of it. The future, to such a man, is not a threat. It is a series of situations waiting for his contribution. This does not mean you are indifferent to risk. A wise man does not gamble his strength carelessly. He considers commitments carefully. He counts the cost before stepping. But once he has stepped, he commits fully. That is another fruit of built value. The ability to make decisions and stand by them. The weak man tries to keep every path open, terrified of choosing. In doing so, he chooses smallness. The valuable man says, I will move in this direction because, given what I know and who I am, this is the best use of my strength. If I must adjust later, I will. But I will not live paralyzed. Opportunity favors those who move. It cannot steer a man who refuses to take the wheel. As the years pass, you will begin to see your life as a pattern rather than a series of accidents. You will recognize that every period of unseen labor preceded a period of expansion. Every time you disciplined yourself to grow in skill and character, a new level of opportunity eventually appeared. You will notice that when you allowed your standards to slacken, your prospects dimmed. When you recommitted to building your value, they brightened. This recognition will deepen your faith, not in luck, but in law. You will believe more firmly that what you do in private matters, that aligning with cause and effect is the only sane way to live. That belief itself becomes part of your value, because it keeps you steady when others are tossed by superstition and fear. In the end, building your value first does something that no mere outward success can do. It allows you to meet yourself with respect. You will know in the quietest moments that you did not cheat your own potential. You may not become the richest man in your city or the most famous in your field. That was never the point. The point was to find out how much good you could become capable of, how much strength you could cultivate, how much order you could bring to the small corner of the world entrusted to you. When you lie down at night, you will not have to drown your thoughts in noise. You will be able to look back on the day and say, I increased what I am worth to life. That sentence, spoken honestly, is worth more than any empty luxury. So fix this law in your mind and refuse to let it go. The world does not meet you at the level of your wishes. It meets you at the level of your value. If you do not like the opportunities that are coming your way today, do not curse fate. Set yourself to work on the one thing you can always control, what you are becoming. Raise your standard for knowledge. Raise your standard for effort. Raise your standard for integrity. Persist until you feel in your bones that you are no longer a man waiting for a break, but a man preparing for a summons. When you reach that point and continue beyond it, you will look back one day and realize that what you once chased is now walking in your direction. You built your value first. Opportunity, having finally recognized its match, had no choice but to come looking for you.